So here we are. Good afternoon. Welcome, Martin.
Yes. Hello, Eric. We are back here with our team is today underground pumping station. And behind the camera there is Darko, and he will be following your chat. So if you have some question, just bring it in the chat room and we will answer that live here.
Correct.
Yes.
We had a little tension a few minutes ago. There were some technical things going on. Skype's turned on, Skype's turned off, WhatsApp videos and calls. So the mood was a little bit under pressure 5 minutes ago, but now things are better, Martin, we're back together. Darko, do you want to come in and say hi? Come on.
Next time, Eric. Not now.
Okay, let's start with our lifting station for underground installation. Yes, that is now our third live webinar, right? And we will have here, I think here we mentioned that. Here is, we have 3 parts about lifting station. Today, July 1 is pumping station, wet installation and dry. And end of July, we have our grey water lifting station. And yes.
Right, so there's a lot of products to cover. That's why for each webinar, we're breaking it down into a specific product group. Today, again, being underground wet pumping stations, which we'll discuss in a second. So there'll be many of these coming along. Again, the final one of this trilogy, you could call it, this round of 3 webinars will be, like Martin said, July 29th, the small Mini Lift S and Aqua Lift S pump stations.
Okay, let's go on. So at first, here you see our top view of our company. So we expanded in the last year really big. I think more than a third of our production and logistic department extended. Yes.
Right. Up. If you come to Kessel now, there's a fair amount of construction going on. The main road is half closed up front. There's construction trucks and bulldogs and equipment moving all around. But one of the main reasons we wanted to show you this site of Kessel, again, where everything happens, all design, development, sales, assembly, and shipping happens here at Kessel Lenting. But the products we're talking about today, the underground wet pump stations, we'll be talking about the chambers, the new chamber we have, that's manufactured in our injection department here. And once the chambers are injected, the pump production, the assembly of the pumps will happen in this area of the building where our underground pump stations are put together.
Yeah, right. Okay, let's go into the pumping station. Here on this side, you see the lifting and pumping station in a chamber system, 1,000 diameter and 600, and here for the small pumps also in 1,000. We should say that's 1,000 diameter chamber you can climb in, so that's legal to go into and it's safe for that. And for the 600 lifting station, there you have to do the maintenance and repairs from outside. You don't go in for that because it's really too small. On the other side,
right on the right are some of the smaller underground systems. Again, the product range is wide. We're going to have the product to meet your requirement. You're going to want to come to either your Kessel partner in your country, who will be in contact with us to figure out the exact product that you need. Again, today we're just talking about the top left, the underground wet pump stations. But here on the right, the smaller Mini Lift S, Aqua Lift S. That'll be on July 29th. Will be the 3rd webinar of this series.
And please get familiar with our symbols. They are also in our catalogs and data sheets. There you see the symbols for what are these products are good for. Here, like toilets, not for toilets. So on every side, on every data sheet, you will see these symbols, and then you have a quick information for what these products are. Yes.
Okay, this is again some of our underground products we just mentioned. Also above ground, which we talked about earlier in the first webinar, above ground Aqua Lift F. So again, a full range, full underground range, small, medium, large, and a full above ground range, Aqua Lift Basic, small, medium, and larger systems. So complete range If you need a requirement, if you need a product from Kessel, come to us, come to your partner, and we'll show you what is the right choice.
Right. So pumping station here on the left side, dry installation. We say dry installation, so there is during maintenance and repairs, you don't have to step into the wastewater. On the right side, it's the wet installation, submersible pumps. That's a common solution what nearly every producer can offer. But we have also some specialities. Here, that's our specialty, that you have in the chamber a closed room for your wastewater, no dirt, no oil is coming out, and it's a nice and easy maintenance.
And this would be exclusive to Kessel, Martin, correct? This is a new system out at Kessel, pretty much only available from the Kessel company. So we're just trying to distinguish here, so you know what the difference is. Wet, you look down the cover into the chamber, you see wastewater, you see pumps. That's the wet system we're talking about today. And the dry system, only from Kessel, you look down it, everything's enclosed, it's a dry system. But today is the wet system is the subject.
And here, if you remember our last webinar about our freestanding lifting station, here we use the same pumps. So we have here, we use the pumps from our freestanding also for a chamber system. So therefore, there is additional solution. Yeah.
Darko, any questions coming in yet? Darko's on the chat box, so if anybody has any questions, please just write it. Darko will jump in live and ask us what your question is. Martin always likes to show a installation illustration, just so you get an idea of how these things look. This is, I'd say, a smaller type of application, private home, wastewater from the basement of the home, possibly the entire home. In England, for example, often the entire home, including roof rainwater, is connected to the same drainage pipe. So we'll be asking you what's connected to the pumping station in order to give you the right choice. But this is the underground pump station, wet again, as we mentioned, submersible pumps pumping into the public sewer. And this is maybe a little special thing, Martin, if you want to mention what this is here.
Right, that we especially in Germany, they do that in most of the cases because the standard says that you should put the pressure line over the backwater level. Here, that should be the backwater level, and then your pressure line should go over the backwater level and a free fall in the drainage line. And there is a reason for that. There is a little risk if you go directly inside. And this risk, especially planners like to avoid, right? So there's, I think, a risk for that. What could happen if you don't do that?
Right. The common approach would be go directly into the pressure pipe. That's the easier way to do it. You save this above ground pipe, which either you could do inside your home. If it's outside, it's a visual thing you need to sort of hide, as well as a temperature thing. You need to keep it above the freezing level. But what this protects against is during backwater and a power outage when your pumps are not working, and if there's flaps in here preventing the wastewater from going back in the chamber. If there happens to be a malfunction of the flaps, meaning backwater, power outage, and a flap malfunction, then you could get backwater flowing directly into your storage tank and possibly back into the house. And this would prevent that. During backwater, the backwater level will only get to this ground level. It'll stop here, so it doesn't have the head or the force to go over here and back into the chamber. So it's done in Germany, I think, all the time, or very often.
The planners do require that you have to do that. The standard says you have to do that, but in a lot of cases you can't do that. You see here, if you're outside the building, you normally how to do that to make here this loop above the ground. You need a little hut or something like that. So there are cases where they connect it directly. So that is that it is. The risk is small. But we have to mention it is a requirement from the standard. It's not a requirement of the product itself.
Right. And when we get in touch with you to make sure you choose the right pump station, pretty much everything you see on here, we're going to ask you about. We're going to ask you how deep the inlet pipe is. We're going to ask you how long this pressure pipe is to the public sewer. Here it's a very short distance horizontally and also a very low distance vertically, but important is how far away these pumps are from the pressure pipe. It could be 50 meters away, 100 meters away. Also very important is how high the pumps have to pump, either to the drainage pipe here or to the very peak of this loop. We're going to ask how deep things are, what load class covers you have, if people are going to be walking over it, if trucks are driving over it, if normal cars are driving over it. So pretty much everything you see here are requirements that we need to make sure you have the right product for your project.
Yes, especially here the pressure line. That's often a discussion how to do the dimensioning. Should it be DN50, 80, 100? So this depends, of course, of the flow rate and what kind of pump you want to use, and the length of that and the height of that. So all of these, what we do the calculation in Smart Select gives you the solution what is the best, the best choice of the pressure line. So, but we do that later. Day you see that of that. One important thing for installation of every lifting station, I mentioned it every time, is the ventilation. Don't forget the ventilation. Most of the problems after installation is of not a proper ventilation, which should go over the roof. So always the pressure here in the system is equal. Right. Okay, did we some?
No, looks good, Martin, looks good.
Okay, then let's go on.
Now we're going to jump into the pumps that are available for these underground pump stations. Kessel usually identifies all of our pump with a 3-letter system. And these are the 3 systems: the STZ pumps you see here, the GTF pumps, as well as the GTK pumps. All of these can be installed in our underground pumping stations. And this is a very important choice that you're going to need to make based on what type of wastewater you have, toilet connection or not, how far and how much you need to pump. The first one I'll mention quickly is an STZ. That's a submersible pump. The T is for submersible. And important on this pump, it has a cutting system in it. And it's also explosion-proof protected. Germany has this requirement, Austria
and England.
England. Look, besides that, most countries don't, but it's very important. If you're new to pump design and you don't know if your country or your local town requires explosion-proof systems, you definitely need to find that out. You don't want to put in the wrong system. So the STZ pumps are submersible cutting pumps with explosion-proof protection. Darko, we have a question coming in?
We have a question. Can the ventilation be connected to the existing ventilation pipe, or must be a separate one for the pumping station?
The standard says separate ventilation pipe you should install. Of course, it's better to connect it to another one when you have no other choice. That's better than nothing. But the standard says separated. And it should be minimum DN70. So inside the house, DN50 for smaller pumps. But here, the chamber, we provide a connection of DN100. You can reduce it to DN70. But at least with DN70, you should go up to the roof with the ventilation.
Right, so always ventilate. Again, back to the explosion-rated pumps. These are more expensive systems. I get the feeling many people think we have normal pumps and the explosion-proof cutting pumps are better, but that's not the case. The cutting pumps are designed for a specific purpose. If your project requires that, we're going to recommend it. But these other pumps are not lower-grade pumps. They're exactly the same high-end without a macerating, without a cutting system, and that doesn't make them lower quality or not have that benefit. They're just designed in a different way to move the water. So the first one, again, underwater cutting pumps, explosion proofs. And Martin, then we have the GTF.
The GTF, here the F for free impeller or vortex pumps. That's we will see later on, that's a pump for every uses, for every requirement. There you have a free flow system here of the wastewater. So the wastewater does not attach the impeller, so waste can flow through that, also the solids. So, and we have a passage of 40 millimeters, so solids of 40 millimeters can pass here the impeller. So that is, if there is no problem for the later on the sewage system, then it's a good choice. And I would say at first check the free impeller system, and then if the pump performance not so good, then you can see if other pumps will do that also good. And then the third one is
the GTK single channel impeller. This is excellent for high volume waters, normal heights, but high volumes, high liter per second flow, and it's very, very energy efficient. So if you have clear water or water with maybe not too much solids in it and a very high volume, we're probably going to be recommending the GTK systems. And what's interesting to see here, you'll see these emblems or symbols show up all over Kessel catalogs and brochure. And just like Martin said here we see with the macerating system, the wastewater is actually passing through the impeller and the cutting system. So there's contact with the cutting system, of course, to cut the solids in the wastewater, as well as the impeller. Like Martin said here, with the vortex impeller, there's actually no direct contact. The water's flowing below the impeller. And with the GTK, the single channel impeller, the water actually goes through a sort of a scoop or a shovel, a single shovel that's spinning at a high rate of speed to move that high volume of water.
Okay, let's go more in the details here of the cutting pumps. Here you see here our standard pumps, what are available, and there you see with the cutting pumps, there you can reach extreme heights. So there's good if you have a lot of losses in your of your calculation. So you need a higher pumping rate. So we have some with up to 60 meters you can go up, but the other side, the volume, the flow rate is not that big. So the main advantage is to get extreme heights with the cutting pumps. Yes, and they will be used in private and commercial. And yes, but about the noise, we discussed about that before. It's always a comparison if it's too loud or not too loud. But they are louder than a free flow system, right?
Right, which is for a planner. I'm guessing if a consultant is designing a system like this, he's probably not going to have noise in his decision-making things. But if he comes to the Kessel partner, comes to us, we'll be asking questions like this: where it will be, if it's an apartment building with bedrooms nearby type of thing. And we'll use all the information you give us to give you the best choice for your product. And again, the most important here is the explosion proof. We have a wet system, like we mentioned. We have sewer gases, possibly, with methane in the chamber. We have open pumps in the system, and that's why some countries require an explosion proof pump, which has a slightly different control unit. The internals of the control unit are built slightly different. There's a protective device in there, and the pumps are encapsulated, so there's no risk of a spark going to the gases in the chamber and causing an explosion. Again, this pretty much never happens, but if your country or the person designing this requires an explosion-proof pump, very easy at Kessel, you go to the STZ system.
And I remember a project that was in the chemistry industry. They have on their side, they have the requirement, all pumps, it doesn't matter it's rainwater, wastewater or anything, they want to have explosion-proof pumps. So they are in special areas. Also, they could be the requirement of explosion-proofs. So especially in other countries than Germany, England, or Austria. Right. Yeah. Okay. The next pump, the vortex impeller pumps.
Yep, very standard type of impeller. Ours has a 6-finger or 6-vein impeller on it. Good for all types of wastewater, without sewage, also with sewage. Is a very common type of system. We have a 230-volt model here, which we sell. England, some of the homes in England, the older homes do not have 400-volt 3-phase power supply, so they have to have a 230-volt system. And there's different type of powers. This is the wattage of the system. So a GTF 2600 is a 2,600 watt or 2.6 kilowatt pump. And there's bigger systems here. Again, all pumping to different heights as well as to different lengths of the system.
Yeah. And you should mention that the GTF 1400 with this curve, this is a have a very good price, and this should fit for nearly all private and small commercial requirements. So it's really a good pump for private use, I would say. Okay.
And then the final one is, again, the single channel impeller, GTK. If you look in the catalog with these 3 diagrams of the other pumps next to each other, you'll see here that the flows are very high. Substantial heights, they pump relatively high, but the flow is significantly more than the STZ cutting pumps and the GTF vortex pumps. So if you're looking for high volumes at medium heights, then it's probably going to be a GTK pump that we recommend, that also run very efficiently. So if there's a lot of pump starts and stops, again, normally the energy usage of a pump is not critical. They might be turning on 5 times a day, 20 times a day for a few seconds, so the energy consumption is not critical. But if you have lots of flow and the pumps are running all the time and you want to keep an eye on energy savings, then the GTK, again, very high volumes, very efficient, so low energy consumption.
Okay, altogether we could say macerator pump for extreme heights and explosion-proof requirements. Then the vortex impeller, it fits for nearly everything. Mm-hmm. It's good for everything. And the single channel impeller is for big volume. So that is, so you can imagine what type of pump would be the best for your project. Okay.
Darko, how's the chatbot look? Chatbot. Who's here, by the way? Anybody? Any no names? Nurshan, I saw, I think.
Nurshan is here. Gassan is here.
Okay,
Yes,
from Turkey, then Lebanon.
From Lebanon, from Romania, from United Arab Emirates, and so.
Rahman or any of those guys from India?
Rahman
Taking the day off.
Also Arnold Mendoza.
Oh, cool. Arnold.
Okay. New Green is, I saw them in the chat. Yeah, right.
Okay.
Great.
Anyways, ask questions. Darko will get the questions answered.
Greece, Qatar, Oman.
Okay. Here, that is how our pumping station is built. We have here our engineering system where everything is pre-installed. So the steps are in the chamber, the installation, the coupling, everything is ready for installation. And then you can, right away, you can set it in the ground. And then you choose the right chamber for that.
Correct, yep. So we'll do a quick smart select, not a calculation. We'll show you some smart select results in a second. But again, the final chamber is the combination which you connect on site of the base system with your chamber. So depending how deep you are, depending how the load class of the cover, we're going to choose depending what your access is. There's different type of diameter access here. If you have big pumps to get out or you need to get down there, we'll choose all that. And this will connect to your engineer base to make your final polyethylene watertight chamber. Darko, I think.
Yes, we have a question. What is the maximum temperature the pumps can take?
Okay. Funny, because we had this morning. We had a customer from what country?
That was, I think, from Middle East. No, Qatar. I think it was Qatar. Yes.
Middle East. Yeah.
Yes. So if you have continuously flow, then the pump provide a 60 degree. That's a special test for that. In real situation, I know that they will accept a higher temperature because when they pump out here the volume, it's about 200-300 liters for pumping. Then they have a rest and then they can cool down. And over the time and until the water flows into the chamber system, there also the temperature will go down. So it's always it's different, the temperature here in a chamber and the temperature where the washing machines let the water out. So therefore, but officially the pumps accept, say, 60 degrees.
It would have to be an extreme situation where the pumps would overheat. Again, they have heat thermal protectors in there. Before they get too hot, they will shut themselves down and cool. I remember with Ghassan Masri, our salesman from the Middle East, we were talking about this about 4 months ago, about temperatures, easy answer. He said in his entire career at Kessel, as well as ours, and there's been thousands and thousands of above ground pumps sold. We've never had problems with water temperature. So the question is, it was one that comes up, but it's really not one that needs to be addressed unless you have an extreme situation. We have a high flow of 100 degrees Celsius water coming into the chamber, which is
over a long time,
which is pretty much never the case.
So therefore, if you have a dimensioning of 6 or 10 liters per second, so that's normally in the dimensioning a high peak flow rate, what the pumps can handle. But this high peak is, of course, high peak, not over a long time. So therefore, these top temperature is normally only for a certain time, and the chambers and the pumps will handle that. And on the other side, we have, if you have a 2-pump system, then they skip, of course. Yeah.
We have a question. I will read it out. So criteria for pump selection is volume and height. How about free passage? I mean, feces or small stones from rainwater. What type of pump is suggested?
And generally you want to keep, sewage perfectly fine in the wastewater. Stones you should do your best to keep out. Our pumps sit relatively high in the base of the chamber, so if stones get there, it'll take a long buildup of stones before they get into the system. I would say in that case, you want to stay away from a cutting pump. You don't want stones getting into the cutting system. And probably the GTF, which is again the vortex impeller, where the medium or the water is actually not contacting the impeller. The impeller is creating a positive and negative pressure and sucking the water below it. So I guess the GTF would be a good system if you know there's stones in the wastewater. But in general, stones in wastewater is not ideal. If it's an outdoor parking lot, you want to put sludge baskets in the drains in the parking lot, or maybe prior to the pump station, sort of a sedimentation tank to take the solids or the heavy stones out of the wastewater flow.
Yes. If it's solids, they cannot cut it, then no cutting pumps. This is what we can tell, right? This is an important thing that solids could be cutted. For example, what you have in toilet paper and these things. But if there are solids which cannot be cutted, then avoid cutting pumps. That's a simple thing.
Right, so back to our chamber. Here's the advantage. If you're working with the older style concrete systems, you got to make a hole outside or have a concrete chamber brought outside. If it's in the building, you have the concrete hole in the building. You buy concrete from one customer, pumps from another customer. They need to get covers to your concrete chamber, and the Kessel pumping station comes complete. So everything you need is a polyethylene chamber, meaning long-lasting, corrosion-resistant, watertight from inside out. So any water you're collecting in here is not seeping out of the chamber, and more important, it's also watertight in. So if you're in a high groundwater table, you don't have groundwater coming into your system and have the pumps pump out groundwater, which over the time will wear and tear on the pump. Middle East, often near the Gulf, so to say, salts in the groundwater can cause corrosion on concrete. So it's a complete system, everything from Kessel, everything you need is there, and 100% watertight and corrosion-free. Okay.
We have another question from Greece. Single channel versus vortex. And what about sand?
Okay.
Yes, I would say if it's sand, it's like gravel, like stones, you should use vortex impellers for that. If you're not sure exactly, then if if the performance curve for a free flow impeller works, then it's the best solution, of course. Only if you have big volumes, then single channel impellers could be okay, but if you have the possibility, use free channel impeller. You too?
I agree.
Yeah. You agree? Good.
Very much, yeah.
I want to say something to our chambers. They are more flexible than concrete chambers. Just think about if you need an additional inlet, or the inlet what you calculated is not at that position or what is in real. So here our chamber system is open, or it's a possibility to saw on additional inlet or flexible in height. So it's we have sections with 500 millimeters or 250 millimeters. So you can really adjust your chamber up to the surface with 1000 in diameter. And at the end, you go here with a 600 opening or 800 opening. So this is very flexible, especially if you're not sure how it is in real for that one. Yep.
I think the next slide shows the engineering system, we call it. Again, this is half of the pump station that you need to choose, or we can help you choose. I guess maybe I'll go from the right since I'm on the right side. Again, a complete system. So the gate closure valves, which should be on any pump system, this is designed to shut off or seal off the pressure pipe, which could be going 20, 30, 40 meters, 100 meters to the sewer. You can shut that off before you do any service work in here. I'm just going to go through these, Martin, and then throw it over to you. The pressure outlet, again, it comes standard with the outer diameter 63 or 90, depending what type of pressure pipe you're planning to run. If a pressure pipe has not been chosen yet, we can also recommend that to you based on our frictional loss calculations and what Smart Select states. So important thing, pressure pipe, what size to use is important. Twin backflow preventers, that's what we mentioned before. When the pumps turn on, they fill up the pressure pipe with water. And when the pumps shut down, that wastewater, of course, should stay in the pressure pipe, or else would be draining the wastewater. We just pump back into the tank and then pumping it again. So these are automatically included in the Kessel system. And also, this is a good one I get to introduce here, is that the majority of the systems out of the catalog are hydrostatic controlled. So we moved away from float switches. Twin pump system would have 4 float switches. There's a lot of switches in there that could possibly get caught on sewage or tangled up. So we moved to the higher end hydrostatic sensor, which is just a single sensor, sort of a rod that sits in the wastewater and monitors the rising and falling of wastewater to tell the system to turn on one pump, to turn on 2 pumps, to turn off the pumps, or to sound an alarm. So the hydrostatic sensor is pretty much the highest sensing system out in the market, and that's part of our normal system. And Martin, I'll throw the left side over to you.
And you should mention if you could change to other control system, like float switch or pressure sensor or something like that. So this is our main thing, that our system is always flexible to change to other pumps. Like here, when I go from the bottom, you can use all the pumps what we described before with the same coupling, with the same in the same system. So if you want to change the pump size or type, then you just take out the pump and put in the other ones. Yes, and here to take out the pumps, you have here a chain on the pump. Then you can go out, you don't have to go down. You just take the chain, and there is a quick coupling system. You don't have to screw on that. You take it out and make your maintenance and bring them back into the chamber. Another thing is here, the material of the chamber and these things is polyethylene, and it's very resistant against wastewater, especially if you install it after grease separator, when there is still grease there inside. So these steps are also made in polyethylene, and so no corrosion over centuries you have there. So no danger when you climb into the chamber here after years. And a big thing what they ask us a lot, how resistant this is against groundwater. Groundwater in some areas it's very important. This chamber is resistant up to 3 meters of groundwater. And the chamber could be at least 5 meters built up at 5 meters height. So these are here the options for our chamber system.
Right. We would challenge a concrete chamber with multiple inlets that are often installed on site and maybe a cover from a different manufacturer would challenge the concrete chambers to be watertight. Again, especially if you're in groundwater areas, you want a watertight system. And over time, as well, it's difficult to seal a concrete chamber that usually comes in multiple sections. Again, concrete is not too a precise system to pour or to manufacture. Again, here with our new chamber, we work at extremely high tolerances. The gaskets between the chambers are very, very high-end gaskets. They're not simple O-rings. So the big advantage here, over the life of your system, you've got a watertight system underground.
Okay. Yes, here we come with the chamber itself. So there are many options. These options, especially for installation inside the building, in the basement, where you want to install your lifting station. Especially here, you see here a flange with a waterproof membrane and a big access of 800. So this is make it tight. That there's a protection of the groundwater, what would be go up to into the building. Here you have your barrier, so here would be your concrete plate of the building. So there is a safe installation of a chamber inside the building where the pumps or the chamber itself is under the building.
Right, this again, the 800 millimeter access, it depends on how we want to get into the chamber. If it's a shallow installation, you need room to exit or to get down in there as well as to move. If it's a deep chamber, for example, 3, 4, or 5 meters deep, we can offer our 600 millimeter diameter cover. You can see the slight differences in the diameter here. And here you'd walk down the 600 meter hole, and you'd be standing down in the chamber. You'd have the full 1 meter internal diameter of the chamber to do your service work. So again, things you might not come up on an everyday basis, but if you work with Kessel, you work with our partners, we're going to be asking you these questions. So even the planner's not, or the consultant's not satisfied, even the service guys, when they're servicing the systems 2 years, 20 years down the road, and they want to get into the chamber, they know that somebody chose or somebody designed the right type of chamber to make their work also easier.
And by the way, this chamber system, we also use that for other applications, like for grease separators, if you have to install it into the concrete. So, or for backwater valves. So this system is open for other applications as well. So not only for the pumping station. Let's go to the control units. That is at the end what you see of the Kessel product.
Yeah, when the systems are underground again, the control units will be either an outdoor kiosk, we call it, or enclosure near the pumps, or more than likely, or if possible, inside the building. These should be frost protected and direct weather protected. But this is a look at our mono system for a single pump control unit, and this is the the slightly larger twin pump control unit. Again, 400 volts with our digital display to give you a continuous update of what's happening. As well as with that hydrostatic sensor that I mentioned. You will see here the pump start levels, the wastewater level, and if changes need to be made to that, if you want to adjust the pump on or the pump off level, or adjust the alarm level, you don't need to go back down to the chamber and adjust float switches, for example. You do everything digitally from the control unit here. So we've had really good luck with these control units that we've had. In terms of knowing what's wrong with the system, it'll tell you what the problem is. If there's a high water, if you're over the alarm level, if you have an overheated pump, if you have a power outage, that will all be displayed here on the control unit. So all of the adjustment work, setting work, you can do digitally here from the control units.
And the special thing to others is that there is a logbook included. So you see what happened before or in the past. So that is an important thing, that you can scroll down what happened in the past, when was the installation, when was the last maintenance. All these data it will be here in this control unit. Yes, some specification tips.
Yeah,
that means?
Yeah, depends what the next slide is, but Okay, right. We've been talking about this basically the entire time. What pump to choose? That's where we or your Kessel partner will help you out. We're going to or the main backbone of the selection process would be Smart Select, which is the Kessel pump selection system. That's not based on any Kessel regulations or rules. It's fully based on European rules. So we're doing everything under the guidance of the European norm. It's available on the internet for those of you to try it. Many of you use it. It can be a little bit tricky, but if you come to Kessel for help or one of our partners for help, we will be using Smart Select, which gives you a nice printout that we can show you to show or to prove why the pump or the product that we recommended is proper for your application. I think the next slide begins with the Smart Select.
Yes, but at our last webinar from Lifting Station, they will make a live dimensioning of that. So there you can see it on YouTube. There you can follow them. How do we do the dimensioning directly online? But here we have just some screenshots out of the Smart Select. So this is already the result of your dimensioning. That means you have here 2 liters per second, and the volume on the pressure pipe is 63 liters. That means, you should look how big that this is the minimum pump volume for that. And for the 2 liters per second, you have here the selection of the pump. So here we have some green and some whited.
Right, everything in green would be pumps that are designed to the norm or are abiding by the regulations for the norm. The ones not green, for example, would handle the flow, but they're breaking some of the rules or the regulations for the norm. So you want to stay with the green selected pumps. But Smart Select will tell you pretty much every pump that can do it. If you scroll down here, there'd be even more green pumps coming up. So right here, if you're not familiar with the Kessel pumps, it'd be a good idea to call the Kessel representative in your country or call us. Here we have, for example, a GTK, the single channel impeller, as also a GTF, the vortex impeller pump that can both handle the system. So depending if there's maybe sand in it or not, if it's just clean water or not, would give you a recommendation on which pump to use.
So here you have the decision to use this one, the smallest one, the 1300 or the 1600. What you would choose? So I think you guys would answer, look what or where the flow comes from, right?
Yeah, depending what's in there. I'd keep costs in mind, of course. The GTF 4000 is more expensive than the GTF 1600. The flow is less here, so there's a little bit less speed in the pipe. But I would probably choose one of the lower ones here. Here's the dot. At that point, this one was chosen, or possibly the GTK 1300. Again, here, very energy efficient. So if you chose the GTK 300, price-wise, I think probably similar to this.
This will be cheaper. The GTK 1300 is a little bit cheaper. But if you don't have good information about the information, then you're always with the free impeller system. You're on the safe side, I would say, in general, always in general. So if you know more about them, then you can discuss about the GTK. So that is here an example for that.
So in Smart Select, you would choose one pump that you want. In this case, we chose the GTF 1600. The next slide shows that. So here we see the results. This is the very nice performance curve of the GTF 1600 and at your site. So in this case, we had a physical pumping height of 7 meters you see here. The blue line is the curve of the pump as it pumps through the pipe, whatever the pressure pipe it is, however many fittings are in there, it loses power. So here we see it losing a little bit of power. And here's the curve of the GTF. So in this case, when you're pumping the wastewater 7 meters high, the pump will be pumping exactly 11.95 cubic meters per hour. And this is good to have in your records, especially if you're the engineer and consultant. Put it in your file, save it on the Smart Select cloud, so to say, and whenever you have questions about it, could be a few years down the road, there's some issue with the pump, the building service guys wonder why this pump was chosen, then you can just bring this up and say, listen, this is the data I was given, few years ago. We need to pump sewage wastewater 7 meters high through a 80 millimeter pressure pipe, I believe it is, a length of 15 meters. Then you can prove that this was the correct selection based on the European norm for that site.
Yes. And here, this little line says here 0.7 meters per second. This gives you the advice, where is the minimum speed? So you are right from the minimum speed, so this is okay. So minimum speed, you need that to avoid blockages in the pressure line. So is the speed too low, then it causes blockages. Yes, that is the sheet what you get at the end of the dimensioning, and gives you all the data, what
Correct.
you put in and what you get out.
Right. This is some of the data that I entered or we entered. The length of the pipe was 15 meters. The physical vertical height was 7 meters. It was a DN80 pressure pipe. This was the exact pressure pipe we chose. There's different pressure pipes to choose. But what this does down here in the bottom right, it gives you the selection. So remember the Kessel pumping stations are made out of the engineering system base, the bottom, as well as the chamber at the top. So I also entered the depth of the inlet pipe, what cars are going to go over the top of the chamber, and then Smart Select came out with the engineering system GTF 1600. This is the exact article number that you would request a price for, and this is the top of the chamber. So on site, you would connect these two together and get your complete Kessel underground pumping station.
Okay, some specialities of our pumping station. So if our chamber system 1000 is too small or the pump volume is too less, then of course we have solutions with bigger here dimensioning of the chambers. So welded pipe of that, here where the pump and the coupling and everything, the piping, elbow and everything is installed in this chamber. On the top, we go with our 1000 chamber system, we go there up. So extreme high volume pumps, extreme high pressure pumps, or pump volume. That is the application for that.
The others, you can see very large pumps. We've had these in our program before. They were not in the catalogs. Now we put them in the catalog just to show people that we can do it. Single, double, possibly triple. I believe in Denmark you have a triple pumping system going.
Yes, it's an offer.
Right, so it's not always the double pumping system. There's also a triple version if you want two pumps running at once for ultra high volumes, or a third pump as backup. So when we get to these big systems here, like Martin said, lots of height we can go to, lots of volume, and we can also play around with the number of pumps, the type of controls we use to control that pump, to maybe, for example, have always 2 of the 3 pumps running at the same time for extra high flow. So this is a sort of a customized system that we do every day, but you would definitely want to come in touch with us on a system like this so we could guide you through the right way to do it.
Okay. So now at the end, so why should we choose Kessel Pumping Station?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, because
Okay.
not because of you.
Really, yeah. But yeah, this is sort of the wrap up here. There's tons of reason, but to keep it short, we chose 3. Smart Select. We have a lot of our customers, a lot of our planners saying they chose Kessel products because of Smart Select. It gives them the background information, that everything's done according to the European norm. They know no tricks are being made to try to get you to buy a Kessel pump, for example. Everything's based on the norm. Everything is fact on the black and white sheet in the Smart Select output that we give to you. It's a free of charge system. You put it in your files, and it always stays with the building during the lifetime of the building. So one of my favorites is Smart Select. Once you have the Smart Select readout with the green pump, you know you've made the right choice.
My favorite is that you get with one product where everything is included. That the pump is included, the chamber is included, the control unit is included. You don't have to take care about it, that something is missing. So everything, when you're ordering our pumping station, it's ready for installation. No additional accessories you need. You get some accessories, but you don't have to. So that is my favorite.
Yeah, but it's not on the list.
It's not on the list.
It's
Yes,
on the list.
because you made the list.
I made the list, yeah. compared to concrete, again, get rid of the pit is a motto that our boss Mikhail Feigl brought in. Older homes, you see concrete holes in the floor, or bigger buildings, you see concrete holes with pumps from a different company thrown in. So the idea is to get rid of this pit, whether it's a small one in the building or a big one outside, and go for a high-end complete system. So what I like about our systems, fully watertight, fully corrosion-proof if you have aggressive wastewater or salt groundwater outside of it, as well as fully tested. All of our systems, before they leave Kessel, go through an air pressure check to make sure that the chamber is airtight. So fully watertight, fully corrosion-proof, and fully tested when they leave the building.
And we have here our Service Contract Plus.
Yep.
So that is it's a contract with us where you get the spare parts over maximum 5 years for free, really for free. The material is for free when anything will break down, so anything. So, and this is really to a good price for the pumping station, because we are sure that nothing will break down. So therefore, we started with that you can make a contract with us for the pumping station. What is about the price per year? Do you know that, Darko? It's about 100 euro, something like that.
For what, sorry?
For a pumping station, the contract plus.
Service contract.
Around 100.
About 100 euros. So for that you get all spare parts for free. I think that's a good opportunity, especially for the owner, that they get sure so no costs will come afterwards. So that's in some areas is sometimes a problem. Yes, I think we are nearly at the end.
Yeah.
Yes.
Next slide. Again.
What is that?
That's
Is that your experience?
That's you trying to pump up the tire on my big truck that I have at my house. This is somebody that did not use the right pump for the right application. So again, come to the Kessel partner, come to Kessel, and we'll make sure you get the right product that fits your right application.
Okay, then I will say thank you very much.
Yeah.
Here we just want to mention our next webinar here, that is on the 29th of July. There we are talking about here greywater lifting station, and yes, and something else to tell you?
No, that's pretty much a wrap up. Today we're the big pump stations. July 29th are our new high-end, very, very small pump stations for the light commercial as well as domestic application. So we're going to wrap this up. I think Martin's going to run a quick video soon of the get rid of the pit, the idea of how you can solve these concrete hole problems by choosing a fully furnished or complete Kessel system.
Yes. And here on LinkedIn, follow us on LinkedIn, then you get automatically the information about new webinars, new information, new products. So, okay, again, thank you very much. I just start the video of get rid of the pit. If you don't know it, please stay online. To the others, see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. See you. Bye-bye.